Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Korborium, in the very first episode of Encyclopedia. In this series, we dive into the history and function behind various enemies, with some exceptions like my Russian Mangler video, which was Echoes of the Past. Anyway, let's get into it. The exact origin behind the crawlers is somewhat unknown, as it appears it could have been either a Group 935 creation, or, the more likely option, a CIA/Broken Arrow one, or perhaps one was inspired by the other. They're first seen on the maps Kino der Toten and 5. According to lines of dialogue from Ultimus Richthofen, it appears that the Nova 6 crawlers have spliced DNA of pigs and humans, which explains the poor piggy trapped in the Pentagon. This was confirmed in the map Classified via a blueprint that shows some of their design and function. For those who haven't played Black Ops 1, the Nova 6 part of their name is a bioweapon developed by ex-Nazi scientist Dr. Friedrich Steiner, which was obtained by the Russians after the Second World War. Steiner, Kravchenko, and Dragovich began to perform experiments with the gas, with plans to unleash it upon the United States. The experiments showed promising results, with side effects being, perhaps too grotesque to describe in the video. The United States would manage to prevent the attack and put an end to Steiner and Dragovich. Now, back into the zombies lore. Presumably, the United States recovered info on Nova 6 after the debacle and began to weaponize it in their own way, thus creating the Nova 6 crawlers, to which there are several variants of them. The basic Nova 6 crawler, which all variants resemble, sports the iconic eyeless face and large gaping mouth with razor-sharp teeth, producing growls, wink-like sounds, and a bubbling from within. They crawl on all fours, keeping close to the ground, making it easy to lose sight of them in the hordes, but thanks to the gas emanating off of them, they're not impossible to see either. When the crawler is killed, it will roll over onto its back and crunch up like a spider, proceeding to explode, leaving the spot where it died contaminated with Nova 6 gas. The gas won't harm the player, but it will blur their vision and slow them down. This can be prevented, however. Should the player decide to kill them with a knife instead, the explosion will not happen. But there aren't many times where you'll be able to go and do that. Those basic Nova 6 crawlers appear in Kino der Toten, 5, and Classified. The first variant to exist of them has no official name, as it barely differs from the basic model, but is worth mentioning. The teleporting Nova 6 crawler appears in the map Moon, and does exactly as the name suggests. It behaves no differently to the regular Nova 6 crawler, with the exception of now having the annoying ability of teleportation. It can blip towards you and get cheap hits in. Another variant of the basic crawler is the red Nova 6 crawler. It appears during the Alpha Omega Easter egg, and Primus and Ultimus had to lure the creature away for Rushmore. Now onto the more interesting variants, starting with the Jumping Jacks. Again, they have no origin, but thanks to the map Alpha Omega, we learned that Die Rise housed a Broken Arrow facility, so we can once again boil it down to being one of their creations. Unlike the previous 3 models of the crawler, Jumping Jacks do not produce any Nova 6 gas whatsoever, and instead of crawling around on the floor, they will jump along the walls statically, lunging down to slash at the player before proceeding to jump around again. They're hard to shoot and can overwhelm you if you're not careful. Should the player manage to defeat all of them with 100% accuracy, they will be rewarded with a free perk alongside the usual max ammo power-up. Another sibling to the Jack family is the Jolting Jack, seen only in Alpha Omega. It's possible that Jolting Jacks are an accidental creation after the Avogadro's outbreak at the Camp Edward facility, or perhaps they were deliberately created sometime prior. We will never know. Jolting Jacks, like the Jumping Jacks, produce no gas upon death. They instead prefer to stay away from the fight, teleporting up onto rooftops to shoot bolts of electricity down on the players. They're fairly easy to forget about, so don't let them pick away at your health. The other crawler to appear in Alpha Omega was the Nova 6 Bomber. They're like a boosted version of the basic model, featuring strange spikes along their body and an unnatural green glow. They will expel Nova 6 from their bodies to enhance the speed and strength of nearby zombies. Upon death, they will explode just like their basic cousins. And this would be the last we'd see of the crawlers until the release of Modern Warfare 3, where we got technically 2 new members to the family. The first being the Nest Crawler, which unlike any of its previous cousins, has no legs. Instead, its spine has become a tail, and it drags itself using its arms. They can be found within infected strongholds attached to strange growths along the ceiling. When a cyst is destroyed, the Nest Crawler will awaken and come after the player. Should they get too close, they'll explode, creating an electric burst that stuns and damages the player. This electric burst will remain where they died for a brief moment of time. This explosion can't be prevented if the player kills them before they can detonate, however. The other, and final variant is the Wrentling. They behave no differently from the Nest Crawlers and are summoned via the Mega Abomination, who has them mounted to its chin? Chest? Its body. And that has been every single variation of the Nova Crawler thus far. Thank you for watching as always, and if you enjoyed then please consider liking and subscribing, or leaving a comment. Thank you again, and goodbye.